Hello everyone and welcome to the Office of Public Instruction School Nutrition Programs Webinar Wednesday. Today's topic is Montana Farm to School Successes. Just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. On the upper left side of the screen, you will see a chat box. Please enter your name and school district or organization as well as your email address into the chat box so we can record that for attendance. In the bottom left corner, you will see documents you can download, including the Webinar Wednesday and other training schedule. I've also uploaded a few resources for you about Farm to School in this box. All participants are currently muted, so use the chat box to ask questions throughout the webinar. Everyone will see them unless you select a specific individual. We will address questions and comments at the end during our Q&A section. I'm Aubrey Roth and clearly technically challenged today, and I will be your host. I'm the Montana Farm to School Coordinator with Montana Team Nutrition Program. Montana Team Nutrition works in close collaboration with the Office of Public Instruction's School Nutrition Programs to provide training and guidance to schools throughout Montana, and we're housed at Montana State University. I'm excited to be joined by Beth Williams from Gallatin Valley Farm to School and Nicole Berkeley from Plevna School to share their experiences. During this webinar, I will discuss the Farm to School basics and steps to getting started. But Beth and Nicole will share about their successes and challenges, and we'll wrap up by discussing upcoming opportunities and answer questions. Farm to School enriches the connection communities have with fresh, healthy food and local food producers by changing food purchasing and education practices at schools and preschools through the three core elements as shown here. Procurement. Local foods are purchased, promoted, and served in the cafeteria or as a snack or taste test. Education. Students participate in educational activities related to agriculture, food, health or nutrition, and school gardens. Students engage in hands-on learning through gardening. Farm to School programs generally work best when each of the three core elements are represented, but sometimes a program sticks to one of the three. This slide shows data from the 2013-14 school year collected by the USDA Farm to School Census. The next census will be coming soon, so please be prepared to collect your purchasing information. Food service directors will receive the survey since they are the best people to answer the procurement questions. However, I encourage folks to reach out to others in their school and school district to ensure that the education and school garden information is also correct on the survey. Even if your school doesn't do any farm to school programs, please complete the survey when you receive the link. In this case, you will select that you didn't do the activities and the survey will be extra short. This helps make sure we have accurate data across the country. There are many benefits to farm to school programs. In terms of public health, studies show an increase in selecting healthier options in school meals, increased fruit and vegetable consumption, and willingness to try new foods associated with farm to school programs. Farm to School initiatives can enhance overall academic achievement in K-12 settings, including grades and test scores. It can increase in opportunities for physical activity and social and emotional growth and school engagement. Economic impact studies have demonstrated that for each dollar invested in Farm to School simulates an additional 60 cents to $2.16 of local economic activity. Also, sites participating in the Montana Harvest of the Month program reported spending over $1.4 million on local foods in the 2016-17 school year, which I think is pretty awesome. While I've provided just a few examples of the myriad of benefits of Farm to School, you can learn more by downloading the Farm to School Benefits Fact Sheet from the File Share box that's in the bottom left-hand corner. Farm to School and school garden initiatives provide opportunities for diverse and rich educational experiences. As you can see on the Curriculum Connections map, Farm to School projects connect with everything from art to science and beyond. When you are embarking or looking to grow your Farm to School efforts, I recommend considering these three building blocks. First, start small with a manageable action. Perhaps that is serving one Montana meal in your cafeteria during National Farm to School Month or participating in Montana Crunch Time. Once you've had success with your small step, and then turn it up a notch and find ways to build on your program. Be sure to take time to measure, reflect on, and celebrate your efforts. We are going to touch on each of these steps of farm to school success listed here. To start, you will have a much easier time starting and sustaining your program if you have a team. Who should be on your team? I like to recommend first thinking about who would be able to stop your program and have them on the team. For example, having someone from the maintenance or grounds department on your school garden team would be vital since they often control the water and need to have the area be easy to mow around and maintain. Consider having food service, teachers, administrators, parents, students, community members, extension agents, or SNAP-Ed educators on your team. Your school's wellness committee is a great place to start for team members. Before you launch, be sure to take time to assess what your school is doing, what resources you have, and what resources you will need. You can also do a baseline assessment, collecting information like student meal participation, plate waste from school meals, or other metrics that are relevant to your project. Once you have a good picture of where you're at currently, set your vision, goals, and immediate objectives. Depending on what you're planning to do with your farm to school program, you may need to set some definitions, such as how will you define local. The definition of local in farm to school programs is decided by the school or community, so that's you, and could be defined in ways such as a certain number of miles, within state lines, or within a region. You choose what makes sense for your area, and it might even depend on the type of product you're looking at. Let's dive into some tips in the procurement piece of farm to school. When incorporating local foods into your menu, first look at what local or Montana foods you're already serving on your menu. Then consider what would be easy local substitutions, such as substituting Montana flour for other flour you are already purchasing. Salad bars provide a great next step since you can feature fresh local foods in their raw form, such as cherry tomatoes or Montana apples. Consider joining Montana Harvest of the Month or featuring local foods on a schedule, such as Montana Mondays or once a month. Taste testing provides you an opportunity for students to try unfamiliar foods without the waste. I recommend doing a sample of a new recipe a day or so in advance of it being offered on your menu. Even better if you collect votes on it to get student feedback using our Tried It, Liked It, Loved It voting method. The most difficult way to incorporate local foods is to find or develop new recipes to match the availability of local foods, such as finding a new soup recipe that features lentils. This is certainly a successful method, but maybe not your first step. So how do you find these local foods? On the slide are multiple resources that are helpful. I find that contacting a farmer's market manager and asking for a list of vendors or any recommendations for vendors who produce the foods that you want is an easy first step. Even if there isn't a farmer's market in your town, a nearby farmer's market manager will generally have a few ideas, and you can find the market manager's contact information in the farmer's market guide. Local food directories are helpful, and the Farm to Cafeteria producer database lists distributors, farmers, and producers that are interested in working with institutions such as schools. Schools can purchase from state or federally inspected meat processors, and you can find lists of those processors online. The links are shown on the slide. I highly recommend asking your peers who they purchase from for other school food service staff, or check with other institutions or restaurants. Check with your current distributor or find other distributors and request a list of the Montana products they carry. Just like any purchase, from apples to napkins, you need to follow proper procurement procedures when buying local foods. The updated version of the Montana Farm to Cafeteria Manual is hot off the press and is an excellent resource. The manual is divided into sections so you can pick the one most relevant for you rather than reading the entire manual. I have included the manual in the file share box. The USDA Local Procurement Guide is also an excellent resource for basic procurement information and is easy to understand. We also have Beef to School templates for informal and formal procurements. Livingston School District has many excellent features to its farm to school programming. Their school food service program purchases from local growers and ranchers as they grow their own food in their school gardens, greenhouses, and their aquaponics system. You can see the fish in the picture. They have worked with the Livingston Food Resource Center to process local foods, and they have built strong relationships with many community partners. The Montana Beef to School Coalition has a number of great resources from the research we have done around the state, including our case study report that features 6 Montana school districts and the processors or ranchers they're working with. As I mentioned earlier, we have the Beef to School procurement templates that will help you through the process of buying local beef. We will be releasing a Beef to School frequently asked questions resource soon, so keep your eyes out for that one. Let's now take a look at the school garden piece of the farm to school pie. As with any farm to school project, a team is vital. Know the roles and timeline for managing the garden space during the school year and the summer. Determine and communicate the plan for access. Can students access the garden at all times, or is it fenced and locked? Some gardens go unused because teachers aren't sure what they're allowed to do in the garden and when. If someone is responsible for planting the garden, communicate when and where things will be planted so lessons can be planned with that in mind. Unless your school garden is based on desert plants, you'll need easy access to water. Consider a timed drip system which will conserve water and ensure that the garden gets watered on time. You could also set up a schedule for parents, teachers, or others to water the garden. Before building a garden, consider the purpose of what it will be used for. This can help determine the size and layout of the garden, as well as what to plant and what other features should be included. And I will say also here that school gardens can encompass any type of garden from a container garden all the way to a greenhouse and an in-ground garden as well. In Missoula, some of the schools work with Garden City Harvest, which is a nonprofit organization, to manage and provide education in the gardens. They also have a kitchen garden for Missoula County Public School District, where they plant and harvest veggies for the district's meals. At Hinsdale School, which is on the High Line, they have a gorgeous school garden, greenhouse, and root cellar that provide fresh produce for the school meals. The Ag Ed and other students have opportunities to engage in the garden, including making signs, as you can see one here, conducting research, and of course, getting their hands dirty while growing delicious food. As you can see, the school's food service staff get excited about the beautiful produce they receive and seek input from students so they can improve the meals and try new things. They also do a great job implementing the Montana Harvest of the Month program. The education element is the most broad and includes nutrition, agriculture, and food-based education. Farm to School is ripe with educational activities that connect to many subjects and can provide experiential learning opportunities that get students engaged and interested. Educational activities can be as simple as learning about a food or a crop to fourth graders like these ones taking a field trip to a high school to cook with their high school culinary student friends. The Montana Harvest of the Month program provides a framework and materials to be able to bring together all the 3 core elements of Farm to School. Since I've done many Harvest of the Month trainings lately, I will keep this section brief, and I know many of you have attended those. If you want more information about the program, check out our website and the past trainings that are recorded. And it looks like that slide's not working. So just imagine the Harvest of the Month logo and some beautiful pictures. The Montana Harvest of the Month program features a different Montana grown or raised food each month. Shown here, that's unfortunate. Shown here is our calendar for this year. Please note that the calendar will change for the 2018-19 school year and will include new foods. If you're looking for the map in particular, if you download the Harvest of the Month 101 document that is in the file share, you'll see the map on the second page there. The program is open to K-12 schools and after-school programs. 136 schools and after-school programs are currently participating and are spread throughout the state, as you can see here. We are also pilot testing the program in early care and education settings, as well as healthcare settings. We will also begin a pilot for grocery stores in the fall. It is free to register, and participating sites will form a team upon registering, showcase the Harvest of the Month food for that month in a school meal or snack, an educational activity, and a taste test. Sites will promote the program by using the materials provided. And lastly, the sites will participate in evaluation. While we provide the framework, guides, resources, and materials, we do not provide the food. Sites source their own local foods for meals, taste tests, and educational activities. Participating sites receive a set of printed materials and access to electronic resources, including the posters as shown here. Posters can also be purchased at the MSU Extension store online if you want more posters at your school, or if you're partnering with a community business or organization that also wants to feature the Harvest of the Month items. We have 3 different handouts for each Harvest of the Month food that includes fun facts, cooking tips, nutrition information, when relevant gardening information, and agricultural facts. In addition to the information that is on all of the handouts, the Cafeteria Bites handout shown here includes food service recipes that have National School Lunch Program meal pattern crediting information, as well as the nutrition information. The Classroom Bites handout includes activities for elementary students and home-size recipes that make enough for a class to have a sample. It also has a list of relevant children's books. The Harvest at Home handout is perfect for sending home to parents or including on a menu, website, or bulletin board. It has the same recipes as the teacher handouts. We are also working on creating recipe cards, which would be great to give to parents or students. So let's get back to our farm to school steps. As with purchasing any food, ensuring safe food is important. I recommend checking with your county sanitarian before making any changes in your procurement and if you are starting a school garden. The Montana Farm to Cafeteria Manual that I mentioned earlier also includes regulations, best practices, and a checklist for food safety. It is important to promote your program so others are aware of the steps you're taking and how they can be involved. If you're serving local foods, be sure to have signage at point of service as well as on your menu. Students can help create bulletin boards, posters, or announcements that help spread the word about your program as well. Teachers, SNAP-Ed educators, and others are making fabulous bulletin boards to promote Farm to School and Harvest of the Month efforts. As I mentioned in the beginning, it is important to assess where you're at and have a plan to track your progress. You can use the USDA Farm to School census data, and you can even search by school district. Choose metrics that make sense for your program, such as the number of pounds of food grown in your school garden. The programs that have been successful for the longest have integrated farm-to-school efforts into their regular processes and have built strong partnerships within and outside of their school. Tracking your efforts will help you continue to find support and funding, as well as give insight into what are your next steps. So let's check out a couple of farm-to-school programs and learn from their successes and challenges. So first up, we have Nicole with Plevna School. I visited Plevna School this past fall and was delighted to see how they are making farm to school happen in many ways. So take it away, Nicole. You can go ahead and unmute.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, we first got started in 2015 with our Farm to School program. We really wanted to build a garden and find and buy local products and produce. The first thing that came to our mind was local beef. Next. This is a picture of our Cook's famous smothered beef meal. We heard of another school nearby that was purchasing beef for their school, and we got in contact with them. Jeff Harding, who owns Harding Land and Cattle Company, came to our school and talked to us on how to purchase the beef and the options that were available. We purchased ground beef and steak strips that is local and is processed in a USDA-approved facility, which is Quality Meats in Miles City. This challenge is at times difficult to find someone to pick up the order since it is 70 miles away. The producer does have a ranch about halfway from our school to him, and he is at times delivered orders, which is nice. We're extremely happy with this beef, and we can tell a huge difference from what we were receiving in the past. Next. Then we decided to do crunch time. The first couple of years, we just got apples from the grocery store. The third year, I was determined to find a local apple. I went to the Montana Harvest of the Month website and found a producer in Savage that had some apples. I contacted Sue Price from Price Produce. Sue came to our school, delivered the apples to us. Since then, we have been one of her biggest customers. We found out that Sue has a huge garden and sells her produce. She lets us know when it is available and asks us how much of it we want. The challenge is that Sue is 2 hours away from us, and it is not the easiest to get the produce from her. However, we make arrangements with her, meet somewhere, or else we can pay some extra money for her to deliver. We do have a great relationship with Sue, and we are wonderful. It is wonderful to have such great produce. We did find another producer just last year, which is Hatchet Creek Farms owner David Graham, that goes to the farmers market every other week to sometimes every week to a nearby town. We can call David and place an order, and he's willing to drop it off at the school before he goes to the farmer's market for the day. This works out well, and we hope to stay in contact with this producer and work something out for next fall. It would be nice to see what he has available in advance for the cooks to get a better idea on what he will be selling and placing orders earlier before he comes through town. Some tips and challenges that we have had is that you always have to be thinking ahead of time so the cooks can develop their menu and know what is available from the producers. We are still working on this process. Now on to the garden, our next picture. We were inspired to have a garden for our students. It has been about 3 years since the students have been growing produce for our cafeteria. We had an empty courtyard and it was never being used. We received a grant to build a garden. We have 6 raised beds and benches for the students to sit. This area has really turned out nice. It is so fun to watch the students help with the garden, the planting, watering, maintaining, harvest, and the endless learning opportunities. Next. And there's just another picture. You go next. In addition, our ag teacher has some land by his house, and the students also go out there and plant a few items. The garden is mostly corn. It sure was fun for the students to have a few corn on the cob days at school, where they got to pick the corn, shuck the corn, watch it being cooked. Next. And finally got to eat the corn. Next. Now I'll talk about some of the educational things we do at our school. We display Harvest of the Month bulletin board at our cafeteria. This is easy to maintain and really promotes Harvest of the Month to our students, staff, and community members. Next. Another thing we use is the Montana Harvest of the Month templates to create our school menu. These templates are nice and easy to use. Just recently, we just added the Harvest of the Month items to the menu and showcasing the item. For example, you can see on the April calendar that there are grains on 3 different spots on the calendar to showcase the Harvest of the Month item, and usually this will be a taste test day. Next, taste tests. The students really enjoy taste test days. We made the process easy for taste test days. We made up a bulletin board that has a taste test on it, and then we just print out a sheet of what the taste test item is for that particular day. Then we just put up the bulletin board, jars, and hand out tickets to the students as they go through the line so they can vote. The cooks do explain to the younger students on what they will be taste testing and what they need to do with their ticket. This process has worked out very well for us. Next. Taste tests in the garden. When students help harvest in the garden, the AGA teacher is good about doing taste tests in the garden. This really impacts the students' learning and willing to try the vegetables. The students will then clean the produce and deliver to the school kitchen. The cooks will often point out to the students of the produce they picked and how it is being used in their meal. Next. We also participated in the Montana Chili and Cinnamon Roll Day. It was a fun day. This is a picture of what we served. Next. Our cooks prepared a Montana beef chili that used local beef and a white chicken chili, which was a product from Western Trails out of Glendive. Next. Crunch time, which I've talked earlier about. The students looked forward to this event every year. I get between 4 to 5 varieties of apples. After their crunch time event, we have stations for the students to try the different apples and then vote on their favorite one. I then post the results afterwards. Next. Now we'll talk about how the different components really build upon each other. It really all does tie in well together, and we can see from year to year that the program is getting bigger and better. The students and staff really enjoy it, and so does our community. We have the community involved with our activities, and they are invited many times throughout the year to come and read and eat with the students. It is neat to have the community experience a meal with so much local food and see the students eat a wide variety of vegetables and fruits. The head cook, Connie Lang, has seen a growth of fruit and vegetable consumption, and the students are willing to try new foods since she has started her job, which is about 5 years ago. Next. Our assistant cook, Bertie Rieger, prepares a beautiful salad bar every day. Bertie really puts a lot of thought, time, and preparation into this salad bar. As you can see, it is full of color, and there are many options for our students. I am so proud to showing out this salad bar off to any of our guests that come through the school lunch. Next. There's a lot of teamwork involved with this program. The AGA teacher takes on the gardens and educational portion. The cooks prepare and serve the fresh produce. I help with the procurement, harvest of the month reporting, grant writing, and getting any of the harvest of the month resources for the teachers and cooks. Some of our goals and upcoming plans are to continue to add more variety of produce in the garden, add 2 more beds in our courtyard, get an irrigation drip system for the courtyard, and make educational opportunities more available to the students on the garden. Also to get the community and families involved in the garden in the summer and during the school months. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And I can attest that salad bar is absolutely incredible. It's really fun. So if you would like to ask a question for Nicole, please go ahead and type it into the chat box now or at any time. We'll answer the questions at the end. So next up, we have Beth with Gallatin Valley Farm to School in Bozeman. So go ahead and unmute and take it away, Beth.
Hi, so I'm Beth Williams, and I'm the Procurement Program Manager with Gallatin Valley Farm to School. Before moving to Bozeman to work for Gallatin Valley Farm to School, I was the Food Corps service member in Red Lodge for 2 years, serving in an AmeriCorps program focused on food, garden, and nutrition education, and increasing access to local food in school cafeterias. In my current position, I work with school districts in the Valley to support them in serving local food in their school cafeterias specifically through the Harvest of the Month program. I also teach farm to school classes at some Bozeman elementary schools. Gallatin Valley Farm to School is a 10-year-old Bozeman-based nonprofit that connects schools and farmers in the Gallatin Valley to cultivate healthy kids, vibrant farms, and strong communities. Our 3 program areas include cafeteria, classroom, and community. Our main programs are education-based, which include classroom, garden, summer camps, and after-school programs. We also focus on community events with family cooking nights and our fall festival event. Our other program area is cafeteria program assistance. Next. At Gallatin Valley Farm to School, we support local schools in overcoming barriers to serving local food. Last year, we received a Farm to School grant from the USDA that allowed us to expand our cafeteria efforts. We are now working with 6 districts monthly to support them in implementing Harvest of the Month. To do this, I send out a monthly email with sourcing resources and recipe ideas. The food service staff then source the food and coordinate the delivery. They also prepare the food for a taste test and a menu item. I assist by putting out monthly marketing materials in school newsletters, Facebook pages, and any other avenues that the schools have. The food service will often put the Harvest of the Month on their lunch menu as well. Then the day of the taste test, I go to the schools to help serve the taste test and have students vote on what they thought of it. Ideally, the food service serves the menu item a day or two after the taste test, so then students will be more inclined to buy local lunch because they like the taste test. The reason we help food service with marketing is because it's such an important part in the success of Farm to Cafeteria. Without a financial incentive of increased participation rates, it's not as sustainable. This is something food service directors might not be used to doing and does take resources and knowing what channels to go through, but doing this pays off. Doing this also helps build capacity support. By doing outreach to staff, school boards, and parents, you are building support for your program outside of just students eating in the cafeteria. This is key to your program's sustainability. The Harvest of the Month program has been really successful this year, and the new food service directors jumped in quickly. Some highlights have been Gallatin, Gateway, and Anderson using beef from students' ranches for March Harvest of the Month taste test, and an almost entirely local meal at Montfortin School last month for the chili cook-off competition, including the carrots, apples, the grass-fed beef in the chili, and the lentils in the chili. Our long-term goals with schools is that they will serve local food outside of Harvest of the Month, which many of them are already doing. For example, Anderson School taste tested local carrots for the Harvest of the Month in January. Students liked them so much, and the food service director liked the product, so she switched out the baby carrots on her salad bar to the local carrots. Processing the carrot sticks was too much work for the food service director, so she got them processed by a local processor. It's been great to see how a Harvest of the Month taste test can lead to a change in a regular menu item. And this is an easy way to bring local food into your school by replacing an already existing item. Other examples of schools buying local food outside of Harvest of the Month include Belgrade schools will often purchase from Root Cellar Foods when they are having sales for schools. Bozeman schools served local apples all fall and into winter this year. Schools are most likely to purchase local outside of Harvest of the Month when the price is good and the ordering delivery process is simple. The biggest challenges, I would say, are price, availability, and delivery. Our schools order from Quality Foods Distributing frequently, but they have a delivery minimum, so the food service directors often drive to the warehouse to pick up the food instead. It can be easy for a school to pay for a local food item once a month, but harder to make it a regular part of the menu if the cost is substantially more than the food service are used to, but producers often give discounts to schools. It can be challenging ordering from lots of little farms that all have different ordering and delivery processes, so it's sometimes easier to just go through a distributor like Quality Foods Distributing, Western Montana Growers Co-op, or even Root Cellar Foods that carries local food. Processing local foods may be time-consuming with limited staff. For example, Montfortin School purchased 25 pounds of bulk carrots and had to wash, slice, and season them to make roasted carrots. But this challenge can be overcome by planning ahead of time and scheduling in time to process the bulk foods and time to research new recipes. You can also purchase processed local foods through local processors like Root Cellar Foods. Next. The educational programming is an essential component of a successful farm-to-school program. Even with the taste tests in the cafeteria, students may still be hesitant to try these new foods like beets and kale. We address this challenge through many different types of programming. We teach monthly Harvest of the Month lessons in classrooms that highlight the same item that is being served in the cafeteria. Classroom lessons include nutrition and agriculture information about the food, a science, math, English, cooking, or art-based activity, and a taste test. For example, we might do harvesting kale from the school garden, then making a scientific diagram of kale leaves with parts of the leaf labeled or summer squash. Reading about the history of apples and writing an apple haiku, using all 5 senses to explore winter squash varieties, making art out of lentils, doing an apple taste test and graphing the class's favorite apple variety, or comparing apples using a Venn diagram. Or doing a cooking project like making a grated carrot salad, applesauce, zucchini, summer salad, kale salad, pickles, or roasted winter squash. These classroom lessons are hands-on and exploratory, which allows the children to develop an understanding of and relationship to the food. Then when they see it on the lunch line, they will recognize it, know what it tastes like, and therefore be more likely to choose and eat it. It's important to promote the item being served at lunch in the classroom so they know to expect it. These lessons integrate into the Montana state and national learning standards, so using food education can be a way to teach the core concepts while promoting lifelong healthy habits for your students. Start small. Use carrots instead of cookies in a math example, and you're integrating food education into your school day. Next. In our garden lessons, students often grow and cook with that month's Harvest of the Month, so they're already excited for when it shows up in the cafeteria. We also do after-school programming, including Harvest of the Month clubs, where students do activities similar to the classroom lessons involving cooking that engages them in the Harvest of the Month item. Next. We offer family cooking nights where families learn to cook with their students. It's a fun event and kids learn valuable cooking skills. We try to make the recipes highlight the Harvest of the Month, so once again, kids are even more excited to try it once it's in the cafeteria because they're familiar with it. We also use local food in these classes and tell the participants about where it came from. Next. We take students on farm field trips during the school year and at our summer camps, which once again connect them to their food. They might be more likely to eat kale from a farm once they've visited and harvested the kale there themselves. Last fall, I took students to Gallatin Valley Botanical, and they all ate radishes straight from the ground because they were so excited. All of these educational activities connect students to their food and make it more likely that they will make healthy choices at lunch. Our upcoming goals and plans include serving more Harvest of the Month meals, serving local food outside of just the Harvest of the Month program, setting up forward contracting with a school and a local farm, so planning for the whole school year what they're going to order from them, and integrating food service directors into local food and our culture network. And that's it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Beth. That was fantastic. So again, to all the participants, if you're interested in asking Beth or Nicole or another question, please type that into the chat box and we'll address that here in a couple minutes. Also, if you haven't already, please type your name, your organization or school, and your email address into the chat box for our roster. So there are many resources for Farm to School now. So I want to show you just the very tip of the iceberg so you know what is out there and how you can get started. The Montana Farm to School Leadership Team works through partnerships across the state to build farm to school initiatives that help kids eat healthy, connect kids with agriculture and nutrition through education, support Montana farmers and food producers, foster economic vitality, and strengthen communities. This team is formed of agencies and organizations with statewide focus and influence that are key to the success of Farm to School in Montana. We also use the Montana Farm to School website that you see at the bottom of this slide as our central Farm to School resource for our state, and everyone contributes to that as well. If you want access to free curriculum, including some garden-based curriculum, posters, stickers, and other resources, sign your school up as a teen nutrition school, or see if you're already a teen nutrition school. The Harvest of the Month Taste Test competition is rapidly coming to a close. To enter this competition, students can prepare and serve taste tests for the rest of this month and submit information about their event by May 4th. Go to the Harvest of the Month website for more details. October is National and Montana Farm to School Month and is a perfect time to kick off or celebrate farm to school initiatives. Host a special Montana meal that's open to parents and community members. Take a farm field trip or promote the efforts you're already doing with a special bulletin board featuring photos from your projects throughout the year before. Put Montana Crunch Time on your school's calendar. At October 24th at 2 p.m., we encourage all Montanans, wherever you are, to crunch into a locally or regionally grown apple in celebration of Farm to School Month and National Farm Food Day. You can register and get more information, including the Crunch Time Guide, on the Montana Farm to School website, which is also on here. One huge opportunity I want you to mark on your calendars is the next Montana Farm to School Summit, which will be held September 13th and 14th, 2018 in Missoula at University of Montana. This conference will again be fantastically chock full of field trips, workshops, speakers from Montana and around the country, and of course delicious food, including a farm-to-table barbecue. Registration will open this month, so keep your eyes peeled for that, but go to the website for more information. Remember to share your Harvest of the Month and Farm to School stories. You can share photos, lessons, stories, and recipes using the Share Your Story form on the Montana Farm to School and Harvest of the Month websites, or you can email me anytime. Use social media to get the word out and be sure to use the hashtags MT Harvest of the Month or MT Farm to School on your posts. Whenever possible, use the USDA photo releases, which are on our site, if you're sending photos. This allows us to be able to share and use the photos. Also, contact your local news media to share farm to school stories. They love covering it. And there's a few examples of both social media posts as well as local news media on the slide. So thank you so much for your time today. We will now answer questions, so you can enter them into the chat box. And I'll give you a couple minutes and just get started with this first question. So this is for both Beth and Nicole, and we'll start with Beth. What recommendations do you have for a site that's just getting started?
Yeah, so I would say to definitely start small. So like I talked about, there's all the different areas of farm to school and you had mentioned, but maybe just choosing one. So whether that's garden or cafeteria or the classroom, and then build on that. Another great way is using the Harvest of the Month program is a really easy way to get started. And then in terms of getting started in the cafeteria, I would say choosing one item like the carrots on the salad bar and finding that you want to replace, but just something really small and achievable.
Awesome, thank you. And Nicole, what recommend? Nicole, I think your sound might not be working. Do you want to try to mute and then unmute?
Can you hear me now?
Oh. Yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry. I would say start small, again, too, like Beth said, and to see what local products are really around you. We have, for example, Western Trails in Glendive, and that's still 80 miles away for us, but we use them. See what the products are available, or if there's any producers close to you. That was our biggest challenge, is to try to find people that would be able to provide to us. So yes, starting small and finding what's available.
Awesome, thank you. So in getting started or growing your farm to school programs, what resources did you find most helpful? Let's start back at Beth.
Definitely the Harvest of the Month portal is super helpful if you're doing the Harvest of the Month program. I still reference that every month when I'm sending out materials to food service directors. We have a lot of resources and materials on the Gallatin Valley Farm to School website as well that folks can use. The USDA planning toolkit, which I believe you mentioned, Aubrey. And then what I use every month when I'm sending out recipes to food service directors is actually the Vermont Farm to School, the New School Cookbook. Has really great institutional size recipes that use a lot of the Harvest of the Month items that you maybe wouldn't normally see, like beets and lentils. And so I really like that resource. And then I would just also make a plug for the Farm to School Summit this fall.
Awesome, thanks so much. Nicole, what resources have you found most helpful?
Resources, I would say the Harvest of the Month portal, yes, very useful and easy to use. Also, just all the materials that we receive from Harvest of the Month in our initial packet, we dig through those every month and utilize those as well.
And I would also say one resource that is really helpful for many folks, and I think both Beth and Nicole talked about this, is looking into your community and finding those connections and people who are willing to help out and maybe go out of their way to help grow a farm to school project at a school. So here's a question. How do you fund your farm to school efforts? Let's start at Beth.
Yeah, so when we do education with schools, either the school PAC or the PIC or the food service department pay for our programming, but for every $1 the school pays us as a nonprofit organization, we're fundraising $3 through grants and donors and events. So definitely the schools are paying some, but we're also offsetting a lot with our own fundraising. But I would definitely, just going off of what Aubrey had said, would be teaming up with community partners in your area is just a really great, whether that's like an FFA or the wellness committee, or just finding someone in your community that shares this interest and using them as a resource.
Yes, I would say to purchase the produce, that'd be through the food service. We also have received some grants for the garden and for the food as well. Also, so we're always looking at grants and to see what is available. And then we have received some donations as well. Our benches were all donated, and our FFA and AGET students built that, and we just hope just to continue and grow and find more resources available.
Awesome. And in terms of funding, I know the USDA Farm to School e-newsletter, as well as the National Farm to School Network's e-newsletter, both include funding opportunities, and we include that in our Harvest of the Month email, but that only goes to Harvest of the Month sites. You can also find funding resources on the Montana Farm to School Facebook page. We'll post those whenever they come up. Here is a question. Any suggestions for involving students in Harvest of the Month with taste tests or recipe development or in other ways? Beth?
Yeah, I would say younger kids have no problem. They're really excited about the taste test and the voting. I found sometimes that older students, like middle schoolers, are not as excited about taking the samples and voting, and so that's a really great time to have their peers help. So at Montfortin School, at the middle school, we were noticing that less kids were engaging with the taste test, so now every month whoever are the cafeteria helpers that day, they help me pass out and then encourage their peers to vote. And it's just really helped increase participation in the program there.
That's awesome, and that's definitely something we've heard from other sites. In particular, Polson, their food corps mentioned that it just helped so much when they started having the middle school students actually hand out the taste test to their peers. Nicole, do you have any recommendations for getting the students engaged?
Yeah, our students are pretty good at trying new things, and I know our cooks, they really try to push and challenge the students in trying the new item or in the Harvest of the Month products. So that is good. And we can definitely tell that our students are eating more vegetables. It's absolutely amazing what it has been from year to year, what they have seen and what they have purchased fresh food and produce.
Fantastic. If there's any more questions, you can type them into the chat box now. All right, I don't see anyone typing, so I think we're ready to wrap up. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. This is being recorded, and I will post it on the Montana Farm to School website in the training events section, as well as on the Montana Harvest of the Month pages. If you want more farm to school stories and resources like this, follow and like our Montana Farm to School Facebook page, which is listed on this slide, where you'll see some great photos, and we also like to share the great things that people like Beth and Nicole are doing. So if you're posting, be sure to tag us or use the hashtags, and we'll try to share that information so other ones can learn as well. So have a fantastic day, and I look forward to being with you for our next webinar. Thank you.